Hi everyone, welcome back to Gracie May's Tarot. So as you can tell, things look a little bit different today. So this is actually a collective reading. I've never done one of these before, so this is going to be my first time, doing a reading without there being any groups. So there's no timestamps, in the description box for group selection. This is just a message for anyone who has clicked on this video and needs to hear it. So this is meant to be a gentle, comforting, soul-soothing, heart-warming message, okay? So if you need to hear this, you will definitely recognize it as we get into the reading. If it's not resonating, this reading just isn't for you, and that is perfectly okay. If you would like to see more collective readings like this, let me know in the comments down below, or like the video, or both, whichever. But I don't know, I was just feeling called to do one of these today. So we have the Three of Swords, we have the Queen of Swords, we have the Knight of Cups, we have love. A steadfast embrace of the heart flows through and from you at all times for all time. We have wellness. A healthy body, mind, and spirit thrive with a constant flow of balanced energy. We have wholeness, which I would just like to take a second. The fact that you got wholeness and wellness makes me so happy. But anyway, we have wholeness, become all that you are. We have expectation, expect the best. We have curiosity, worth the risk. We have I benefit with gratitude, and we have I am open to love in various forms. Now we have a couple more oracle cards, as well as we're going to do the astro dice. But let's start with these cards and then get into the rest of the messages. Okay, with the Three of Swords. This could have been something that has recently happened, but for many of you, I kind of feel like this has become kind of like a chronic kind of energy that you almost have gotten used to it. Like there's this grief, loss, disappointment, kind of like this acceptance of the status quo of like, it is what it is, I may as well just accept it. And I think over time, that can kind of lead to sort of this hardening of your heart, where you become a bit tougher, a bit stronger, a bit more aloof, less wear your heart on your sleeve kind of energy. Dorothy in The Golden Girls, for those of you who have never seen the TV show, she had a very, very difficult life. She got pregnant when she was young. She didn't get to go to college, on the timeline that she wanted to. She eventually did become a school teacher, but, her husband constantly cheated on her throughout their marriage. And then even after they divorced, he's still a thorn in her side. He won't leave her alone. He's a schmuck is what they say. And, she just gets her heart broken a lot throughout the series. And she's so smart, she's so funny, she's so witty, like she's my favorite. But in the end of the TV show, she gets the happiest ending of all of them. Like she gets her happy, fairy tale moment at the end of the series. She meets the love of her life, and she ends up moving, and she lives in this beautiful home, and everything is just divine at the end. And it kind of reminds me of the Taylor Swift song, Invisible String. Hell was the path that brought me heaven, I think is the line. For those of you who know that song, correct me if I'm wrong. I'll try to remember to put it in the description box. We'll say like HE double hockey sticks. But anyway, so it's a difficult journey, and Spirit wants to acknowledge that. Like your guides want to say, like, we know it hasn't been easy, but it hasn't been, it hasn't been intended to be a punishment. Like everything that has happened so far has been trying to get you to accept more, accept better, expect better, like, yeah, it was hard, but everything was meant to teach you how to hold yourself in high esteem, how to understand what your standards are, like how to understand what you deserve and not just accept the bare minimum from people. It's kind of like a great blessing that you didn't get the love that you wanted in the past because it wasn't enough. It wasn't good enough for you. You know, it was breadcrumbs, and you deserve so much more than that, whether it's platonic or romantic or a family relationship. Just to understand that you deserve better than what you were being treated, and you shouldn't accept that as love. You shouldn't accept that as real companionship or an authentic connection. Like, you just deserve better, you know? And Spirit, unfortunately, is like, you know, we had to teach you that, you know, in a difficult manner. Like, you the only way to really get you to understand this, unfortunately, was kind of the hard way, you know, through experience, because this was a lesson that your soul wanted to stick. They didn't want you to forget it. And like, you're in this boss energy, like the Queen of Swords, like, she's so strong. She doesn't put up with anything. And so, yeah, you may have lost some people along the way, but what you gained was yourself. You gained yourself, and now no one can come at you and put you back in this energy without your permission. Like, you are the Queen of Swords. You are standing tall. You are sitting strong on your throne, you know, like, no one can mess with you without your permission. And the beauty in all of this, Spirit is saying, is that even though you have this toughness to you now, and this kind of feeling of like, well, if it's not meant for me, then they can go. If they're not going to treat me the way that I deserve, they can go. If they're not going to reciprocate my energy, they can go. You know, and because you have that sense of self, the message is, because you now have that sense of self, now you can afford to have a gentle heart. Whereas before, because you didn't have a strong sense of self, or you didn't know how to, in a healthy way, assert your ego and assert your boundaries, or maybe you weren't even sure what your boundaries were because you weren't even taught how to identify and hold boundaries, you know? And so maybe at times you used to overdo it and like self-isolate and put up walls, or were really guarded. But now, because you've mastered this skill of like setting and maintaining and holding healthy boundaries, now you can afford to have a gentle heart. Now you can afford to have your sweetness and your softness with this Knight of Cups. This is you. Like, you're holding on to your heart, and you're still brave. You're still willing to be open to love, even though you're still able to hold those boundaries, you know? So it's this beautiful balance between self-advocacy and knowing what you deserve, but also being open to love and being able to accept and receive love like this. And if you're not at this place yet, this is where you're headed. And so, you know, I feel like if you're wondering, like, where is all of this leading to? Like, what was the divine purpose behind all of this mess that I've had to deal with and clear out and heal from, and all this shadow work, and like, what was the grand plan in all of it? It was so that you could receive love that is healthy. You know, love that contributes to your health and wellness, and not love that is a detriment to it. You know, love that doesn't make you feel sick and chronically stressed and bad about yourself. And yeah, you know, Spirit really wanted you to raise your standards. And here's the thing as well, like, I feel like you're headed towards this more playful, curious energy of like wanting to get to know people and deciding whether you like them rather than being worried about whether they like you. You know, it's such a more healthy approach to love and relationships and connection. And again, it doesn't have to just be romantic. You know, for a lot of you, this could have been issues with family members. You know, maybe you had a really difficult parent who just completely eradicated your sense of self-worth to make themselves feel better. And so like, you've had to learn how to parent yourself and how to hold boundaries with that parent, or maybe even, you know, separate from them and love them from a distance and forgive them and move on. And so, you know, I feel like Spirit is just wanting to say, like, listen, this wasn't a punishment. You know, this shouldn't be viewed as like, oh, this was like karmic debt that you had to clear. Like, no, it was just a lesson, and you've learned it, and it was for your highest good, and now we're moving on. You know, like, Spirit is like, you know, through these difficult experiences and connections, and maybe even just like your childhood that you've had to heal from, it was so that we could mold you into this strong, incredible person who still believes in love and still feels like love is worth the risk. Again, whether it's romantic or platonic, connection is worth it. And without connection, what is all of this for? You know? And so you still have a value for that, which is beautiful. And with this wholeness here, I had someone call me recently, and they were really upset because they were just feeling like they weren't a complete person. They just kept telling me over and over again, you know, like, I feel like I'm incomplete. And my heart was just breaking for them because, yeah, you know, I would hope that everyone feels like a whole and complete person. But I think when you've experienced like multiple heartbreaks, or, you know, you've had this ongoing turbulent relationship with someone close to you, you know, like a parent or a grandparent, you know, or a sibling, and you're constantly having to deal with that and cope with that, you know, whether that person is in your life or not, you know, those feelings will rise up sometimes even when you feel like you've healed them and you've cleared them. And it does do damage. You know, you feel like there are pieces of you, you know, just broken up, and there are these fragments that other people are holding on to and, you know, telling you who you are and who you should be, and you're not good enough, you're not good enough. And you absorb that message enough, like subconsciously, you start to believe that. You start to believe that you are this fragmented person who's difficult to love, and you're not good enough, and you have to put on a mask or a facade, or, you know, mold yourself even into being what someone else wants you to be. And it does such a disservice, right, to your soul, because you were put here for a reason. You reincarnated into this lifetime for a reason, like you're here for a reason, not to fulfill someone else's plan. Spirit has a whole plan for you, you know? And so you can't wake up to that purpose. You can't trust in that process if you're being overly influenced by those subconscious beliefs that tell you that you're not good enough, you're unlovable, you need to change, you know? And so I feel like that's the energy you're stepping into, if you're not in it already, is this idea of wholeness, this idea that you're worth taking care of because you are good enough just as you are. And yes, like, of course we're meant to evolve and grow and change, but that's on Spirit's timeline, you know, like, not to impress or please or beg for love from someone else. In the movie, it's a book too, in The Valley of the Dolls, one of the characters says, like, I would resent anyone who begged for love, and I would resent myself if I begged for love. I don't know the exact quote off the top of my head. Again, if I remember, I'll put it in the description box or the comment section, probably the description box. But that quote always stuck with me. And I'm like, you're right. Like, you shouldn't beg for love. And love shouldn't make a beggar of you, and other people shouldn't beg for your love. Like, it should just be openly given and received. And so I feel like this idea of reciprocity is something that, you know, if it's not in your life yet, it's coming in. And I hope that is like a soul-soothing message to know that, you know, healthy, happy, balanced, reciprocal relationships are possible for you. And even if your past hasn't, you know, reflected that back to you, that doesn't mean that your future can't hold that. And I think sometimes as well, as tricky as it may be, I think I'll give a personal example. I have a very tumultuous and unstable relationship with my mom. And she had me when she was 19 years old. So you can imagine why that would be, right? And so, you know, she just was too young. She wasn't prepared to have a child. She just wasn't financially or emotionally capable at that time of motherhood, and it affected her own maturity and her own self-development. Let's just say that. And so, you know, as a result of that, as I've gotten older, I've had to learn how to reparent myself, you know, because even as a kid, I really had to step up and take on my own needs as well as the needs of my mom. And so, you know, that affects your development, right? If you don't really get to be a kid when you're meant to be a kid. And so, and then you know, you've had to learn how to parent yourself. And so that's been an ongoing process for me, because I know like what I need, I'm never going to get it from my mom. You know, like that's just the way that it is. And I have to accept that she's done her best and love her for who she is and accept her for who she is. And unfortunately, sometimes that means there has to be a distance there. But I'm just not going to get what I need from her. And so I have to find it within myself, or even within my connection to spirit. And one of the most like healing things for me has been having a pet. Like having my cat has been the most incredible, emotionally fulfilling experience for me. Like being able to mother and nurture someone that it doesn't hurt, you know, like it doesn't hurt if I smother her with love, like she doesn't mind it, you know, like she eats it up, she loves attention. You know, I like taking care of her. I don't, you know, because I have this animal that I can pour all my love into, and she's my baby, because I have that connection with her, I don't feel the need in romantic partnerships, for example, to take care of somebody else. Like I don't feel the need to be overly attached to someone else. I don't feel the need to fix someone else. I don't feel the need to, you know, because my Venus is in Cancer, so you can imagine, if you're familiar with astrology, like how that can play out. Like this need to, and I have a little bit of Virgo energy in my chart too, so that can kind of lead to, you know, trying to fix people, trying to solve their problems for them, or again, being like overly maternal in romantic partnerships. And so it's been great for me because I don't feel the need to do any of that anymore. None of it. Because I'm able to pour that energy into myself, and I'm able to pour that energy into my cat. And it's been very healing and very wonderful for me. So that could be a message for some of you, like even if it's not having your own fur baby, even if it's something else, you know, like a creative project, or finally committing to a self-care routine or something like that, or even just strengthening your connection to spirit, finding something to funnel that anxious energy into, whatever it is for you, like whatever that past heartbreak, grief, loss, disappointment, betrayal, like whatever that Three of Swords is. And again, whether it's family, friends, exes, you got to funnel that energy into something. And I think that's really going to benefit you. Now I benefit with gratitude, and I am open to love in various forms. These would be great affirmations for you to say. But I feel like this is also saying now, this idea of like wholeness and completeness, like it's more than just romantic love. Like you deserve love in the most purest, honest sense, you know? So not just healthy romantic partnerships or a partnership. You deserve a sense of like family, whether that's found family, soul family, better relationships, you know, with your biological family members. Like you deserve that. You also deserve like healthy, happy friendships with loyal people. You deserve a good environment in your workplace. You deserve self-love, you know, like love in all forms. You deserve that. And here's the thing, like it's coming in for you. It's definitely entering your life if it's not there already. And when it does, remember to be grateful. Remember to be grateful. And even as it stands now, if you're like, you know, Bethany, like I really don't have any close friends, or I really don't feel like I have a family, or I really have been single for the longest time, because this can also talk about an absence of love. You know, so like if you've been single maybe your whole life and you've never even experienced heartbreak, that in and of itself can be its own loss, okay? The loss of what could be but has never been, okay? That's a message for some of you. And I'm sorry I didn't say it sooner, because I feel like I should have addressed that at the beginning of the reading. But you know, sometimes the messages are a little bit delayed. But yeah, so expressing gratitude even at the present moment, even if the only love you have in your life is your love for self, and your love for spirit, start there. Because the more you focus on that, the more it will grow and radiate outwards, right? Like your vibration will rise and you will attract love. But I feel like just standing in your own power with this Queen of Swords is already welcoming that in, especially given that it's balanced with the Knight of Cups. Okay? So I feel like you're already, Spirit wants to say, like, you're already doing a good job. Like, don't listen to this message and think that it's prescriptive. We're not telling you, like, you need to do this, 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 this. We're saying you're already doing a great job. You're already well on your way. And just keep up the good work. And if you want to make some small adjustments here and there, if you pick up a little tidbit of advice from this reading, then great. But we just really want to stress to you that you're already doing amazing, sweetie. And like, just keep it up. Just keep it up. Because you're so strong, okay? And you don't always have, and that's the thing too, it's like you're so strong, but you don't always have to be so strong. And even when you feel like you're not strong and you're going through those Three of Swords kind of feelings in this like kind of paradoxical way, that is strength. When you're going through it and you feel like you have nothing together, experiencing it and being open to experiencing those feelings and not repressing it is strength. Some really beautiful messages here. I'm glad I decided to film this. Okay, let's get your Thera-pets messages here. It says, the truth is you're far more capable than you feel. With the Queen of Swords, never doubt your competence, okay? Like, you can handle all of this. And we have, every time you thought life would defeat you, you were wrong. I feel like you've gone through so much more than you ever thought you could handle. And I kind of feel like you're at a place to where you're sort of feeling like, where is the end? Like, at what point do I step into a gentler, easier cycle? Like, when is that gonna happen? And it feels like, to me, like you're on the precipice of that. And it's Spirit is kind of saying, like, really take a moment to be in awe of how much you've grown and be excited for the person that you're going to continue to grow into. Because if you have grown so much already, just imagine how far you're gonna go. Just imagine it, okay? Like, Spirit really wants you to give yourself a pat on the back here. Okay. Let's do the Astro dice now. Also, I've used these before, but only in silent readings, so I don't know how loud this is going to be. So if you're wearing headphones, maybe turn it down a little bit. All right. What do we need to know, please, Spirit? Soul-soothing, heartwarming message here. What do we need to know? Okay, so we've got the moon. We've got the moon here. Oh, wow. And we've got the 10th house. Okay, the 10th house can talk about career. This is Capricorn energy. This is your status, sort of like what you're known for in life, okay? And so a couple different messages here with the moon and the 10th house, especially now that I'm going to put this one to the side for a second. Especially now that I'm looking here with the truth is you're far more capable than you feel. I wonder if some of you have encountered relationships in your life where you were told, maybe even if it wasn't in a way that was mean, you know, even if it wasn't spiteful, it still hurt. You were told, like, you shouldn't try to do that. Like, are you really sure? Do you think that's gonna work out? You know, do you think that you're capable of doing that? You know, a lot of people fail at that. I don't know if that's the right choice for you. I'll give you an example. In my personal life, anytime I would go to my mom and I would say, mind you, my mom has a moon in Virgo too. Anytime I would go to her and I would say, I want to do this thing. Even if it was the most practical, small kind of goal that I wanted to achieve, something that, you know, should be quite easy for me, even if I'd had past success in that area, didn't matter what it was. She would say, Well, what's your backup plan? What's your plan C? What's your plan D? You should really have a plan A, B, C, D, E, F. Like, it was so disheartening. This automatic assumption that, of course, you're gonna fail, so when this doesn't work out, what are you gonna do after that? And honestly, like, you should have 3 or 4 backup plans because, you know, like, that was, and I don't think that she meant it in a malicious way. Honestly, my mom's kind of hard to know, but it just broke me because it was always that. It didn't matter what I wanted to do, it was always, well, what's your backup plan? Well, if that doesn't work out, then what are you going to do? Then what are you going to do? Then what, you know, and being asked that like 4 or 5 times, you know, like, it hurts. It hurts because you're like, well, why don't you believe in me? Or why can't you just entertain the idea that this might work out for me? Why can't you just admit that it could work out? Why does it always have to be 3 or 4 backup plans here? You know, and so that criticism kind of erodes at you over time. And so maybe you've experienced that yourself with people who maybe even were genuinely like trying to be helpful and saying like, you know, maybe this is, you know, kind of impractical. You know, if it doesn't work out, I just want to make sure you have a safety net. You know, I don't want you to get hurt. You know, even with the best of intentions, people can really discourage you from following your dreams, okay? And we only get one chance, as far as we know. Like, even if you believe in reincarnation, you still have this lifetime. Like, I don't know. You know, what if you reincarnate in the next lifetime and you're a cat? You know, you're not even a human. Like, what then? What do you do then? Like, you know, as far as we know, all you've got is this lifetime as a human. I mean, do you want to spend your life following someone else's plan? No. And it's so difficult. It's so hard, you know, because we do have this societal pressure, you know, to do what's practical, to do what's safe, to do what is known and easy. And so the trouble with that is, though, is that eventually over time, you look around and even if you have a life that looks successful on paper, it doesn't actually feel too good, right? Like emotionally, intuitively, it just doesn't feel right. And it feels like you're, you know, a paper doll cut out in someone else's stage, and that's not a good feeling. And so Spirit really wants you to avoid that. And to me, it feels like you are, but there may still be a little bit of a limiting belief around competence. Okay, give me 1 second. I gotta close my door. All right, guys, sorry about that. Okay, so with Capricorn energy specifically, I want to talk about how Capricorn is represented by the sea goat, okay? So I like this sort of balance here between the sea, the water, the moon, the tides, you know, following your heart and your emotions and your intuition, but then also balancing that out with sort of the hard work of Capricorn and the goat. So if you've ever seen a goat climb a mountain, it is terrifying. It's incredibly difficult, small, tiny little ledges, and they're just hopping up and down that mountain, looking for food, you know, feeding their babies like it's nothing, and it looks so scary. If you've ever seen videos of it, look it up on YouTube. And that's why, part of why Capricorn is ruled by Saturn and Father Time, you know, it's very restrictive. Maybe you had an absent father and you kind of had to be a father to yourself, or you had a strained relationship with your father. I could also see that being a thing. Or maybe even you had a mother who was very strict in like a sort of masculine way, where it was like really controlling and, you know, always trying to like push you to do better, to be better, to achieve better. So maybe you had like a mom who acted like a strict father kind of thing, you know, a mom who wasn't very nurturing or loving or supportive and soft. So anyway, and that could be pressure that you still carry today and put on yourself, you know, to be an achiever, to be the best, to do the best, and to always have it together. And that's a lot of pressure to put on yourself, and maybe even a little bit of perfectionism too. But you know, it's good to have ambition, but you have to balance that out. And it can't be ambition for ambition's sake. You know, it can't just be so other people look at you and say you're successful. You have to feel successful. And what does that mean to you personally? And is that narrative of success something that is truly yours, or something that you've been taught or that you subconsciously have taken on? Okay, so that's something to be mindful of too. Yeah, with all this like 10th house Capricorn energy, there's definitely, and the moon too, like trusting in the unknown and going through lots of cycles and things like that. Definitely, I think that's confirming you've had a difficult time, a difficult life, a difficult upbringing, a lot of instability there. And it would make sense too that you would put a high value on stability and security and success and status, because when you've had so much instability in other areas of your life or in childhood, it definitely makes sense to cling to things that are tangible, that are material, that make you feel safe. So there's nothing wrong with that. You just have to balance it out and make sure that, you're living a life that feels good to you. Okay, so let's go ahead and read your spirit cat message now. It says, Guardian, meet Lavendril. She stands sential, a gentle yet protective force. She can help you guard your mind against negativity, defeatism, and delusion. She's a shield that only allows the words and actions of people with compassionate intentions to reach the depth of your being. She keeps your true self safe as you journey into the depths, seeking understanding and healing. She is a master space holder. Lavendril will hold your hand in her paw as you cry, as you dance wildly, as you merge with the all, as you dissolve and evolve. So, for some of you, like, you do have a pet who functions as like a guardian angel to you. For others of you, this is really talking about, your spiritual team and how they'll hold your hand as you go through this journey. Like, you've never been alone. As alone as you may have felt, you were never truly alone. I'm reflecting a lot on my life in this reading. I'm sorry. I hope that it helps. But I used to work in home health and I did assisted living as well. And so, I was around people who were older adults and at the end of their life, and some who were on hospice and didn't know, how much longer they had to live. It was like a matter of days kind of thing. And, death is so unpredictable. And so it was really hard to make peace with that and still sort of not know exactly when it was going to happen. It's kind of like, just hanging over your head. And so for patients who were religious, I found it was really helpful to tell them, like, you're not going to be alone. Like, when that time comes, God will be there to hold your hand. Because a lot of times what would happen is that they would want me there all the time. And obviously, like, at some point my shift has to end and I have to go home, right? And so it was really hard to leave them because I understood that fear. Like, I don't want to die alone. Like, yeah, even if it was at, someone's home and, family was there, they weren't always going to be able to sit in the room with the patient, right? Like, they had to go to work or they had children to take care of and household work and things like that. And so that's why they had an aide come out to sit there and, to help them obviously with other things. But I always felt so bad, like, having to leave my shift and being like, what if they pass away when I'm not there and they are alone in the room and they're scared, And I think no one just wants to be alone at that moment. Like, you want people there with you. You want someone there. And so I always found that helpful to tell them, like, even if I'm not here at the exact moment with you when it happens, God will be here with you. And it was just so much easier, I think, for those who had some sort of faith, that there was some sort of afterlife and, it wasn't just going to be the end. And, for those of you watching this reading, I'm assuming, given your interest in tarot, that you probably do believe in spirit guides or some sort of other thing, whether it's like the universe or, like whatever your terminology is, or even if you have a deity, or a goddess or something that, you work with frequently, whatever it is, whatever that connection to spirit is, if you can conceptualize that they are with you holding your hand, even when it's hard to feel their presence, they're still there, I think that would be very, very helpful to you. Or, you know, if it's difficult for you to think of things like that, if you have a pet, you know, it may help you to sort of visualize them as, you know, like your guardian angel, your companion by your side kind of thing. That could be helpful. But yeah, I feel like this also speaks back to how we were talking about people with questionable intentions, or people who had good intentions but weren't really at a place of, I don't want to say emotional intelligence, maybe emotional maturity, to understand like you need comfort, not advice. You need someone to hold space for you, not tell you what to do. You need someone to be supportive and compassionate, not give you tough love kind of thing. So this protection that, you know, only people with compassionate intentions are going to be able to sort of penetrate these boundaries that you have. I think having that extra, you know, reassurance of protection here is very helpful for you at this time. Okay, I wasn't planning on this, but let's get a message from the Serenity Journal, and I feel like this will end your reading. I'm feeling good about this. Okay, so a comforting, soul-soothing message for us, please, Spirit. And I'm just gonna intuitively stop on a page whenever it feels right. Okay. Here it is. Oh, I like this a lot. Okay, it says, we have to let ourselves be seen to experience love. In order for connection to happen, we have to allow ourselves to really be seen. The people who have a strong sense of loving and belonging believe they are worthy of loving and belonging. I'm not entirely sure, but I think these are Brené Brown quotes. If you haven't watched any of her TED Talks, she's a big deal in the field of social work. I definitely recommend her TED Talks because they're very enlightening. Even if you're not in the field of social work, they're just very helpful in understanding like human behavior and connection, and really just how to accept and forgive people and live a life where you feel brave and good about your choices. Okay. So, I keep wanting to say pile one so bad. All right, everyone, this was your reading. I hope it resonated. I hope you found something in this reading that was soul-soothing and comforting and has helped you in some capacity. If you would like to see more readings like this, please let me know. Please consider liking, commenting, sharing, and subscribing, hitting the notification bell so you always know when I upload. The easiest way to support the channel is to watch the ads. I know they can be really annoying, sometimes very bizarre. I don't mind watching ads personally, but I would think that as much data collecting as the internet does, the ads would be more suited to me. Like, I want to see ads for like books and cat food because that's stuff that I buy. I don't want to see ads for like men's shaving cream, you know what I mean? Like, I'm not buying that, you know, like stuff like that. But anyway, I'm going off on a tangent. Yeah, please watch the ads if you don't mind. So I can hopefully do this full time, you know, like, and do social work as my side hustle. That would be great. But anyway, yes, please consider watching the ads, liking the videos, all that good stuff. I'll see you guys in my next one. Please take care. I'm wishing you well. I'm wishing you love. I'm wishing you wholeness. I'm wishing you the very best. And yeah, and I hope that you all didn't mind all my personal stories in this reading as well. But yeah, I'll see you all in my next one. Take care. Best of luck to you in all areas of your life.